Cornhole Champions, I'm Zachary Oren Smith. I'm sitting here with Amy Rivers and Avery Staker. Most politicians spend their careers learning how to overcome obstacles. State Representative Josh Turek is a Democrat from Council Bluffs, and he's spent his life doing it before he even thought about politics. And now Iowa's two-time Paralympic gold medalist thinks he knows how to beat Joni Ernst. Turek represents what might be the most unlikely political success story in recent Iowa history. A Democrat who's won twice in a district Trump carried by double digits. Born with spina bifida and shaped by 21 surgeries before the age of 12, Turek's path from Paralympic basketball to the Iowa Legislature is a unique lens on disability, on resilience, and what it takes to represent rural Iowa as a Democrat. This is a pretty crowded race, the Democratic primary to challenge Ernst. You've got Nathan Sage, a Marine veteran, Jackie Norris, the chair of the Des Moines School Board. You've also got two other state of Iowa legislators, Representative J.D. Schulten and State Senator Zach Walz. But coming up next, meet the new addition to the campaign, my conversation with State Representative Josh Turek. That's coming up on Cornhole Champions. He's here to talk about his Senate bid and what he's learned about Iowa politics from the ground up. Hello, Josh. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me, and we'll do a firm handshake virtually.
We'll do our best. I've had you on the show before, I think twice now. And in both of them, we talked about your prior election, but I do want to come to that. You've now won twice in a district that Trump has consistently performed well in. First by 6 points and then by 5 points while Trump was winning your seat by 8.
First by 6 votes, then by 5 points.
Thank you. All to say, you built on that. You built on that trajectory, and I'm curious about kind of what you as a someone getting in front of Iowans, what that process taught you. What did you learn talking to Iowans on your way to that then state House seat?
I learned the importance of hard work and grit and determination. I mean, it certainly was not easy to go out there and crawl stairs and knock doors and literally drag my wheelchair up to have conversations with Democrats, Republicans, independents. It really taught me the value of hard work, but it also taught me that, at our core, we're ultimately not that much different. That a lot of people out there, we're all struggling with some of the same issues. People are struggling with the kitchen table issues. It's how, I want my kids to have a functioning public school. I want to have roads that function. I want to be able to afford my groceries and afford my electric bill and keep a roof above my head. It's certainly on the healthcare issue that was unanimously supported everywhere I went. And having a visible disability, certainly having some level of credibility on speaking about that, of how our healthcare system it costs us 3 times as much and the outcomes are the worst. People talked about how, I heard it all the time, how people would change jobs or change insurances and they could no longer afford their insulin and how it's just fundamentally wrong to live in the richest country on earth. And people are having to make that determination of, do I take my medicine? Do I take my pills, or do I pay my bills? And I mean, that's what I learned, is that it doesn't matter where you sit on the political spectrum. What we want someone that is going to actually do the hard work. People appreciated that about me, not put party over country, and that are going to go out there and work as hard as they possibly can to provide solutions to people's problems.
Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, I'm glad you brought up healthcare. Recently, we've been spending a lot of time talking and writing about kind of what Iowa will look like, how our kind of health outcomes will change under the new host of changes to Medicaid. And I'm curious, as someone I think who has spoken really powerfully about that in the past, I'm curious about how are you connecting those dots with voters? How do you plan to connect dots? Because that's going to be, I think, a definitive issue as we head towards 2026. Certainly,
I think we're looking at Medicaid and social safety nets as being, if not the preeminent issue, one of the preeminent issues, and that's Medicaid, that's Social Security. That's Medicare. some people may not know this about me, but the reason why I actually originally ran for my House seat was because I was working for a company where I was assessing and providing mobility devices, power wheelchairs, manual wheelchairs for disabled populations. And I was working with individuals with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, and muscular dystrophy, and seeing what our privatized Medicaid system was doing and the denial rates and how much they were. We were showing internally it was 1,000% increase in denial rate. When I got up to the Iowa House, I had said to Jennifer Conforce, I don't care where you put me on what committee, but I demand to be on HHS budget and policy because our Medicaid system is already so dramatically underfunded and broken. You're looking at a state here in Iowa where we've got 22,000 disabled individuals that are on wait list up to 7 years. The average direct care worker, and we've got a direct care worker crisis, only making $13.50, 31 nursing homes and skilled nursing facilities closed, on and on and on. We've already got a system that was underfunded and broken, and it's just been made dramatically much worse by the privatization aspect. And now we're going to make even more cuts to this. And this is something that's going to affect not just the disabled, not just the elderly, not just poor kids. You've got 1 in 5 Iowans that are on Medicaid, and you've got 2 in 5 in the rural communities. And when you're talking about cuts to SNAP and food assistance, 90% of those families that are on SNAP here in Iowa fall into essentially 4 categories. And that is the elderly, that is the disabled, that is families with children and veterans. That's who we're cutting for, all just to make tax breaks to rich billionaires. And that's what Joni Ernst was voting for.
As a state legislator, you were, through your Work Without Worry bill, you were working to help make it so that a Iowan with a disability on a Medicaid waiver wasn't disqualified from receiving that waiver, receiving that help to get the care that they need when they got married, and so their assets increased above the limit, or when they got a promotion, and suddenly we talked quite a bit about that on this show. And that work's not done yet,
No.
right? In the Iowa legislature. I'm curious about your decision to run for Congress when you have, I think, what is like a really compelling case for doing this work in the state legislature.
I'm going to continue to do that work. We have packed out subcommittees both in the House and on the Senate side. That is something that absolutely needs to be done. It needs to be done in a bipartisan way. My colleagues up there at the House, whether I'm running for something or not, they have seen that I have been someone that is not putting party over country. I have worked together across the aisle. I think that's been one of the reasons why I have been the Democrat that's been able to get the most things done and actually signed by Governor Reynolds. I'm going to continue that work. But here's the reality. We have the exact same issue taking place at the federal level. The Social Security or SSI assets and income limits have also not been raised. They've not been raised since 1984. That is a 78 or 81% decrease in the value in that. So, for me, it was, believe me, I have loved my work at the Iowa Capitol. I have loved representing Southwest Iowa, winning in a district that Trump has won. It's been very, very meaningful to me. It's also been very meaningful to be the first permanently disabled member up there fighting for the 1 in 5 Iowans that have some form of a disability. It has been the honor of my lifetime to be able to do this work. However, we've got 350 million Americans that are having the same struggles, and those are these same healthcare struggles, these same barriers, access, the lack of access to supports, the defunding, and just absolutely erosion of these, and that's taking place because of what people like Joni Ernst are out there doing. And again, it's voting to end healthcare and food assistance just to make billionaires infinitely more wealthy, or look out for DC donors or lobbyists. This is what Iowa needs. We deserve to have a senator that is going to work for the people and cares about Iowans again.
The work of the coming months is going to be differentiating yourself between others in a pretty crowded primary. And that's work that people like me will be doing. But I think it's a lot of folks that watch this podcast, right? They will be asking themselves, I see a lot of promise. I see a lot of opportunity in this field of candidates running against Senator Joni Ernst. But it's a challenge, right? Given that you have given just the number of folks with many varied backgrounds, many varied approaches. If you're trying to kind of put simply your thesis, your diagnosis for like why you are the right balm for this race, you're the right pick for this race, what is your reason for running? Why are you running?
I'm certainly running for Iowans, and because Iowans deserve a voice. That are looking and caring about the middle class, the small farmers, rural communities. They care about people's health care, who care about our public schools, the water crisis, the cancer crisis. We care about affordable housing. We care about raising and having a livable wage and a minimum wage. There's all of these reasons. The distinction between myself and others is the totality of my story, my background, my resume. I'm someone that has overcome an enormous amount of economic adversity in my life, and certainly healthcare challenges with all that I've been able to go through. I can speak to all these Iowans that are suffering and struggling in a very personal way. Being able to go out there and do the hard work of representing my country 4 times in the Paralympics, win gold medals, also practicing what I preach for more than 10 years, being a director of a nonprofit that is supporting those with disabilities and disabled children to give back because of the way that adaptive sports changed my life. The same in the for-profit arena. Before I was in the legislature, working and going out there and working with these disabled individuals. In the legislature, doing the hard work, the grit and the determination to win in a county that Trump has won by 20 points, in a city that he won by 11 points, and be able to come out and win by 5. That was not through magic. That was through going out there every single day, literally, in crawling stairs, dragging my wheelchair up there to have a basic conversation with voters. That's what it's going to take. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there and go into every single corner of the state and have conversations with people. And that's what they want. They want to have a hardworking candidate, someone that is authentic and genuine and really cares about people, not just DC political games.
Iowa has been overwhelmingly kind of picking Republicans for our statewide and national offices. You sound optimistic about your chances, about Democrats' chances in 2026, and I wonder what's fueling that optimism. Why should a listener be optimistic right now?
A couple of things. You can just look at Trump's first midterm, where we ended up winning the first, the second, and the third. I'm feeling even more energy right now everywhere we go. Potawatomi County out here, again, is red as it can get, and we're getting turnouts that we just have not seen ever. I was at an event in Harlan, Iowa, standing room only, Republicans and independents coming up to me and saying, I voted for Trump, but this is not what I stand for. This is not what I voted for. Not the naked corruption, not cuts to food assistance and healthcare just to benefit billionaires. There is a real appetite and energy for change, and we can all feel it all across the state. I say it all the time, Iowa, we have presented as far more red than what we are. At our essence, we are a common sense state, and I am a common sense prairie populist, much like Tom Harkin. And I believe, just like I've been able to do out here as the Democrat that's representing the reddest part of the state, we can do it. Just takes a lot of hard work, and I'm up for the work.
Before you go, Josh, you want to plug any a way to follow the campaign for folks that might be interested?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and please follow me at Turek, the number 4, which was my basketball number, Turek4Iowa.com.
That's convenient.
And going to need a lot of help and support, but we're going to do it. We really are.
That was Josh Turek, Iowa State Representative and candidate for U.S. Senate. Josh, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That was Representative Josh Turek, a Democrat from Council Bluffs. Amy, Avery, I'd love to hear what are your initial thoughts about Turek?
I liked that he's talking about healthcare. We're hearing a lot of that, I think, from the candidates, but he really comes from a super personal perspective on this. His work with the Work Without Worry bill really showed that there's a lot of Iowans sort of caught in that. Do I take this job? Do I take this promotion and lose my, ability to have a caregiver come and help me get out of bed? That sort of thing. Like, he's in that work and sort of really understands like the nitty gritty of Social Security, of Medicaid and Medicare. So that's sort of a really interesting perspective that I think sets him apart from the other candidates.
Right. I think it's important that this is somebody who has had stakes, both personal and professional, in the social safety net healthcare system his whole life. And he's the product of, when it works, semi well, it reaps a lot of benefits for the people who need those programs. And at some point, like, all of us are impacted by disability. All of us are impacted by, at some point we're all going to need these social safety nets to support us and our health. And I think the perspective that he brings there is a kind of connective tissue, especially in a state like Iowa, where we have, with our cancer series, we have the worst cancer problem in the country, and increasingly older age. The younger people are leaving the state, and these health issues, these issues about Medicare and Medicaid are going to be, if they're important now, but they're going to be increasingly more impactful to Iowans if we keep going the direction that we're going. And somebody like Josh Turek understands that really well and knows how it can provide a lot of unity among the people.
Yeah, in some ways, the race feels really far off. 2026, the 2026 November election day, right, is like more than a year away. However, between that, right, but the election itself is that most people don't vote in a primary. The election is really far away, so most folks aren't really thinking about like the necessity of making a choice in these elections, right? But come January, right, I think a lot of money will have consolidated around their preferred candidates, right? A lot of if you're trying to think about the impact you can have on an election, I think it's really incumbent on you to kind of get out there early on to really begin kind of knocking doors for the people that you think that you're finding a lot of meaning in, right? And so whoever that is in this Democratic primary, I think it's really important for people listening that you can have an impact on a race like this. It just takes getting in early. So find a candidate. We're a big fan of folks getting involved in races just like this one. So write in, let us know if there's a particular candidate that you're finding a lot of meaning in. We'd love to hear from you. Write in at zach@iowastartingline.com. And with that, Avery, can we take a break?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.